Right, hey everyone, I'm Kloo. So, final act melody in 2025, yeah. Still highly possible. It's actually kind of deceptively easy to pull off final act, right? It's basically a two-step process. A, assemble the correct board state, and then fish for final act. Now, we'll obviously do step one first, which is the correct board state. So, ideally, we want gold, copper, and silver. Now, effectively, if we had one copper, say from using Jinglewood, right? So create a token, we'll actually pitch away the final act and encore since I don't need them just yet, right? So one copper is 4 cost, draw a card, and then 1 gold is 2 cost, draw a card. So they actually bounce each other out and act as though they are 2 silver pieces, meaning that we can still effectively cycle blues. So that takes care of the first copper piece. Now, if we were to actually pass, because unfortunately songs don't actually work, not that you'd actually want to play songs, right? So for instance, if I were to Song of Jack Be Quick, I think it's because I'm against the bot. Yeah, no, it gave them the token. You don't get copper off them, off Talishar anymore, right? I will say anymore because I used to play them, but I don't think you'd want to anyway because, well, there is little benefit to songs in a one-on-one match. Obviously, they're designed for UPF, but you know, if they had Go Again or something else, I'd be a bit more on board, but just a straight, here's something for you and nothing really for me other than, again, a piece of copper. Yeah, no, if they create silver, ooh, that would really change my mind. But anyway, what was I doing, right? I was creating copper. So we'll create copper off of our final act and encore, and then we'll pass. We can't play a song to create the copper, right? So we'll put final act and encore to the bottom. We won't arsenal a card. We'll keep this as a 4-card showcase, right? In case your opponent disrupts your arsenal. We'll take the hit, although actually, you know, I'm not going to take the hit because what I want to also mention is the Blade Beckoner set. So this is a really nice, cheap set that really helps Melody. So it is a set of equipment that you can block with, right? While also still preserving them for cash out, which is just fantastic. So you also have the Arcanite pieces, right? Fortress and Skullcap, right? They are still nice, right? They have Arcane Barrier 2 or Spell Void, so that's really good for the Arcane matchups. But because Blade Beckoner is, you know, nice and cheap, not legendary, definitely worth thinking about if you want to play Melody. I still stand by that Crown of Dominion is kind of a must-have because it's 1 silver for cash out, and then it's the gold piece, and the gold piece is fantastic because, again, it allows you to use at least 1 copper, so that's easy enough to set up with Jinglewood. Or it also gives you a little bit of a leeway if you do take yellows or reds because you have that floating resource to then still be able to play Final Act. But nonetheless, right, we will create another copper piece. So we'll go create a token, pitch whatever, right, pick a card, also staple of Melody. If you can get any silver off of it whatsoever, fantastic. Plus, it allows you to effectively plan around your opponent's turn, right? So we will cash out though, and I will get rid of our crown, our chest, our arms, our weapon, but I will keep our booties because I do like having an on-board button to give Final Act Go Again. So hence the Fleetwood Sandals. You can also run Quick Step as Melody's, you know, normal piece. But the idea there is it gives your opponent a quicken token, right? But generally speaking, if they're not dead off the final acts, you're in a rough spot anyway, right? So yeah, an on-board button means it's 1 less card in hand, meaning we have a little bit more leeway to, you know, lose cards, block with cards, or do something else. So hence, I do like the booties, but our board state currently is 4 silver, 1 gold, and 2 copper. So we'll pass again. I won't arsenal. Again, we'll stick with a 4-card hand for the sake of showing this off. Right, we'll take our licks. And then from here, what we can do is we can, of course, pop our gold, right? So that allows us to float 1 resource. Again, would allow us to pop the copper, but just in case we draw badly, right, you burn through your silver first. So we'll go silver. There's 1 final act, another silver, another silver. There's the encore. So the encore is the issue here. So encore being a yellow doesn't quite pitch for a silver, but in that scenario, thankfully, if we had more silver, because we have the 1 resource from gold, we could still pitch encore, right? Now, I don't actually enjoy encore that much, right? I'd rather always find the 2 final acts. The reason being you have to break the chain. So if your opponent has any sense of defensive equipment that has temper, battle worn, etc., they'll be able to reblock with it, which is really bad at shutting down the effective range of final acts. So I much rather find myself 2 final acts, which we can still do effectively, right? Because I have the 2 other blues as well. So we can pitch, find out the final act, and then we can play our other copper, right? And this is actually a nice scenario, having a less than blue for the sake of the second copper, because what it means is that other card, right, we can pitch and a little extra damage on the second final act. Now, scenario-wise though, again, for the sake of this, I've had to maintain a 4-card hand. If we cut out the Encore, and Final Act was the last card we drew, then floating 2 resources off that final copper would have effectively been better, right? But we can Final Act, and we are doing 17 damage, right? So not bad. And then follow that up with a 19, meaning that we are pressuring 36 damage. Now, fortunately, I don't think 36 is truly going to OTK your opponent, right? If you do, call it average, right? So think of it as 3 per hand, right? Maybe a 4 in the arsenal. It's already 16 block there, and then 1 for each of the equipment pieces. Well, that's 20 block roughly, right? Meaning that to do 20 points of damage, you most likely need 40, right? So 36 definitely isn't bad. It can win certain matchups, but we do need to get that range a little bit higher if we want to effectively Final Act. But again, hopefully that sort of showcases that it is still a simple matter, right? Set up the board state, then sift through your deck. Now, the range that you can sift through has been diminished, unfortunately, because, again, we have Art of War gone, we have Tome of Ferendale gone, we have Cash In gone. Cash In would have been a +1, which is highly effective. Art of War or Tome of Ferendale, right, would have been extra draw anyway, so it's like, it's 12 cards we're missing of reach, so to speak, when we actually fetch our cards. And we had 7, right, on board, so that would have been 19 plus 4 in hand, so that would have been half your deck you could have sifted through, right, which means that by turn 2 or 3, your chance of pulling off Final Act is almost guaranteed, right? Nowadays, it's a little bit less, hence why we have to sort of pivot in the deck construction. But I do have 2 versions of the deck for us to go through. So, starting off, we have the not so fun version, right? This is the one with the competitive edge, right? If you really want to play Melody, and to be honest, I really want you to play Melody. I want to see Melody finally get some Living Legend points, right? So yeah, if you're up for it, give it a go at your skirmish. This would be the better version of the deck to run. Now, this is my take on Fatigue Melody, if you will, and I think you do have enough effective range to even KO Terra, right? Actually, I had a match I misplayed, unfortunately, and then I tweaked the deck a bit more afterward as well. But basically, against Terra, I ran out of blues. Now, the idea of the deck is super simple, right? You get to your second cycle, and hopefully you've played all of your reds and yellows, right? And if you've played all your reds and yellows, you can then just effectively go for Final Act with enough of a range, right, that it doesn't matter whether or not you filtered out any of the blues. So, yeah, highly defensive. We have Count Your Blessings in there. You could take the blue Count Your Blessings, but again, the main idea is that you're playing everything that's red or yellow as soon as you find it in some form or manner, except for the Final Acts, of course. You want to cycle the Final Acts around, right? And then, again, you've built up silver, you find the cash out, and you Final Act, right? So the priority, I would say, is get rid of your equipment, right? Block with it. Don't be worrying too much about, should I hold this, should I save it, should I, meet certain breakpoints, right? Generally speaking, from playing this deck a little bit, it's very much catering to over-blocking all the time. And again, you're just really trying to run through your deck. In essence, you're still trying to get through to second cycle, right? But yeah, use your equipment when possible. Your Melody, so, take the first hit if it's nothing too disruptive to activate your Arcanite Skullcap, right? So yeah, a decent amount of equipment block. I'm keeping the Fleetfoot Sandals because again, it cuts down on the cards you have to find to Final Act. Plus, it also opens up the ability to go for something else, which would be our Final Acts, right? So Final Act into our Last Ditch Effort into another Final Act, right? And that, I think, is really the effective way to try to OTK even Terra, because that Last Ditch Effort for an extra 8 damage, right, plus something else on the chain, is really nice, right? So you go Final Act, Fleetfoot Sandals, Last Ditch Effort, Final Act. It does, unfortunately, require a 5-card hand, right? But, not impossible to accomplish. If you can't get a 5-card hand, then obviously you just cut the Last Ditch Effort out. So, yeah, in terms of what you can actually get to, right, we'd have, again, copper. You want to generate the copper. You don't have the gold from the crown here, but you can still have those 2 resources to go into the Final Act, which I do highly say is correct. So, Jinglewood once, start of the game most likely, get your copper, right, and then you're looking for your picker cards, and of course your cash outs. You're trying to set up either Echoes or Intervention. I like both of them because Intervention, can on chance help you. And then Echoes can really, really punish your opponent if they double play something. Otherwise, again, it's just there on board. It's influence on your opponent to prevent them from double playing something, right? And then cash out. So it'd effectively be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? 8 silver. So damage-wise, what are we at? We're at copper and 8 silver, so it's 9 cards pitched. What's technically 10 because of the copper, right? So that means each final act is doing 21, so 42 damage in total. Again, if you can stick the last-ditch effort in there as well, that would be a 50 damage OTK just off of that, not to mention any silver that you can get from pick a card as well, right? So yeah, again, it's a really, really simple playstyle. Just block out your opponent. Now, the sideboard. So we do have a few yellows, and the reason I have these yellows is for Illusionist, if you can guess, right? So yeah, these are the best 6 power cards that I could find, right? So Battle for Bastion and Ferendil Fighting Spirit. Battle for Bastion a little bit better since it has that damage prevention, therefore blocks as a 3. Ferendil's Fighting Spirit blocks as a 2, but you get the life, so it's kind of a 3, but you're still going to trigger, on hit effects. And then Raging Onslaught because it's a 3 block, right? So yeah, there's your effective poppers if need be for the matchup. Otherwise, you are just blocking, and healing, right? If you want to try and swing at your opponent, Rowdy Locals, right, is nice, and Performance Bonus. Now, the reason I like these 2 cards, more so than some other choices, is what they effectively do is incentivize your opponent to block with equipment. And blocking with equipment is one of the big factors, because generally speaking, when you go for Final Act, they're going to have a full hand, right? That's a definite, unless you really fatigue them and they've run out of cards, right? But generally speaking, you want to chip away at their equipment because that equipment block is more relevant. So by playing Performance Bonus, something that pressures gold is really, really lucrative to Melody, you're incentivizing them to block with equipment. Same with Rowdy Locals, right? If they block with an action card, they're most likely blocking with action card equipment. If they don't block with an action card so that they don't want to give it that +2, well, it's either a defense reaction, oh well, you missed, or you're getting them to block with equipment. So I do like Rowdy Locals and Performance Bonus, right? You could probably cut it down to 1 last-ditch effort. You can never fit 2 last-ditch efforts into Final Act, although, again, if we are trying to get to the bare bones of our deck, having last-ditch effort then to still pressure with some hefty-ish damage after the Final Act, if they've survived it, would still be nice, right? You can definitely get to the point where you have more silver than you do cards left in your deck, so you could effectively use that silver to make sure you could play last-ditch effort, right, and still have a decent amount of cards in your deck. But yeah, I think that's a nice call. Now, the One Remembrance. The One Remembrance is there to play if you lose the Final Act, or both Final Acts, or if you need to cycle back blues into the deck. Because again, we were thinking at 10 pitchables, right? So if we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? So that's not a lot of leeway. Now, most likely, again, you're playing the Amulets, you're playing Cash Out, and you're playing some of the other defensive cards, either Brother-in-Arms, Rally Rearguard to block with, plus the discard from Rally Rearguard could be, again, something that loses your blue, or you're attacking with Rowdy Locals or Performance Bonus. So you do need some way to cycle them back. I'm almost tempted to put a second Remembrance back in and cut one of the last-ditch efforts, because, yeah, I do feel like getting back blues is highly relevant, but you don't have to play the blue picker cards. You could slot in blue, count your blessings instead. I definitely think you need more silver on board, because again, you can't guarantee pick a card. It's highly likely, but you get the silver off pick card, but you can't guarantee it, right? So yeah, highly defensive. If you really want, you can rely on Trot Along and take quick dodge flexes as well, but I like this setup that I have. But of course, everything can be tweaked and perfected to your liking. Now, that is the competitive version. My version, the version that I will actively play because I find it a lot more fun, and it's not gonna, bring you to time every single game, most likely, is this melody. So we call this fast melody, right? So the idea is basically to Final Act as quick as possible. So what are we doing, right? What is subjectively different to the other deck? Well, first off, the equipment. Arcane, if you need it, you can swap in the Null Rune. You could, again, take the Arcanite set if you really wanted, although, again, I like Crown significantly better, especially if we're trying to speed out Final Act, right? So already on board, this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, plus the copper, plus the gold, right? So 5, 6, and most likely 7, 8 if we go for 2 copper, right? So that's already 8, would be 32, plus the 2 damage for 34. Okay, all right, can you get to 34? Why does that seem wrong? No, 17. Yeah, 34, right? So 34 damage, decent start. Again, you will most likely need a little bit extra oomph So we still have picker cards. We really want to play the yellow picker card, but if we don't, again, with the gold from Crown Dominion, we can subject ourselves to a yellow rather than using the copper, right? So yeah, stick out amulets as you find them, right? A few defensive cards, and then again, Rowdy Locals, performance bonus, if you want to, or rather, I should say, you really want to attack, right? So the idea is block, attack, right? Cut down to size can be swapped with Humble, depending on the opponent that you're playing. If Humble is more relevant, take Humble. Otherwise, cut down to size is nice. I also like the fact that this is, well, aside from the crown, what else is on the eye? You don't need eye, technically. I do have eye in both because, well, statistically, it's just significant. It's less significant in not so fun Melody, right? Because you're getting to second cycle anyway, you don't need the opt. But in fast Melody, you really want the opt, right? I mean, we've got 2 from the eye, 2 from FABTCG, so that's 4, 6 from the Clarity Potion, and then we have Whispers for a total of 10 opt, right? So that's a fourth of the deck that we could opt through to make sure that we find what we want, right? So again, main objective, set up gold and amulets, right? Sorry, silver and amulets, find a cash out, and then go for the final act, right? And try to do it as quick as possible, while also trying to get rid of some of your opponent's equipment pieces, right? If you can really chip away at equipment, that's the big factor. Bad matchups, again, still going to be Terra, still going to be Assassin, although I throw Levier in there as well, because just the 6, the Carrion Husk, because you won't get them low enough for Carrion Husk to break. So yeah, that's scary. Scaling Fresh Bag, anything that's, forces you to lose a card from hand. There's the Runeblade one as well, Purgatory, right? So both of them are bad, but again, the reason we're taking Fleetfoot Sandals is so that we need one less card in hand, and we can have that little spare card if need be, so that we can, play around Disruption or discard, and we don't need an Arsenal card, right? So yeah, that's the main objective, is set up Final Act as fast as possible, right? Hence the opt, then just Final Act for 34 plus damage, and hopefully you win, right? That's the idea of the version that I enjoy playing, right? Because it's, quicker. You either win quickly or lose quickly, right? One way, it's spectacular. But yeah, if you want a more competitive version, this is definitely the more competitive version for Melody. But I think that'll do. Is there anything else to explain? I guess the Moonwish, right? You can definitely take other cards instead of Moonwish, but I do like Moonwish, right? Because again, it pressures finding the Sunkiss. 3 is kind of an issue though. Moonwish I really want to take along with all the Sunkisses, just because how effective it was prior to Count Your Blessings. So it was basically, Count Your Blessings light. Back then, obviously, nowhere near the same amount of healing, but effectively you could Moonwish Art of War, then Moonwish, and have an extra 6 cards of draw through deck, right? Which was definitely a lot nicer. But yeah, Moonwish and Sunkiss could probably be cut for something else. You could probably just stick in Humble. Do I have Brothers in Arm here? No. And there you go, stick Brothers in Arm. But I think it's fine the way it is for now. Maybe a little more amulet usage. But if you can cut out cards from your deck, all the better, right? So if you can land the Moonwish, you can land the Pursuit of Knowledge, that's just 1 extra card for that round, so that we can thin out a deck as quick as possible. And yeah, when we go for the final act, it's as high of a chance as possible, right? Yeah. Anyway, that'll do. There we go. Final Act Melody in 2025. At least my thoughts, right? If you got a deck, I'd love to see them, right? Again, I want Melody to gain some points. She doesn't have to be relevant, just she needs a point, right? Hope you enjoyed. See ya.